today we're going to look at forwarding rsync connections over Wormhole. This is going to use a tool called fowl, which is a command line tool to play with dilated wormhole connections, and it allows us to forward streams to anywhere or between two computers with encryption, all that stuff, but with minimal network setup. Okay, so I've got on the left-hand terminal here, I'm running on a machine called Mantle, and on the right-hand side, I'm on a machine called Amazia. These are going to be fairly quick. They happen to be in the same network. I'm going to run fowl in interactive mode here, and just so we can incrementally see what's going on. So on the one side, I start it up, I've connected to the wormhole, and I create an invite code, which will be this. On the other side, I also run fowl interactively, and I can accept. I can type this out, or just use A here, and now we're connected. If we want to be very sure that we have the right connection and the right peer, we can use this verifier string to be 100% sure that we have a shared secret. And the way that this PAKE protocol works, there can only be two computers with the shared secret, and so this means we're definitely not being surveilled, or there's no machine in the middle or anything like that. Now what fowl allows us to do is essentially teleport localhost connections. By default, nothing's allowed. So the first thing we're going to have to do is on the Mantle side is where I'm going to run the rsync daemon. So we're going to have to allow a connection to come from Amazia on, I'm choosing port 8873. I think rsync uses 873 by default, but that needs root access and stuff, so we're just going to use 8873. Okay, so I've granted permission for my peer on Amazia to make a connection on Mantle on port 8873. The other piece of the puzzle here, I'm running screen. What's going on? I am running screen. So I can have two shells here. I'm in this temperature just in case rsync has any output. So what we're going to do is run with this rsync daemon configuration file, and this is what rsync calls a module. So we have this sync with me module that's allowed access to this path, and read only false here means it can read and write. So we're running on port 8873 on localhost. I didn't specify the interface here, which I probably should have, but that's fine. So, you know, normally if this was a real tool, this stuff would be under the hood and run rsync for you. And then, okay, so on the Mantle side, we have rsync running. We have fowl running. We have permissions for port 8873. We're listening on 8873. So the other piece of the puzzle is to set up the Amazia side. So here we want to listen on 8873. And by default, fowl will forward to the same port, or I could specify another port. So for example, if I was doing SSH stuff, I might do this. We're going to keep the ports the same here. For web things, it basically needs to have the same port. Lots of things you can change the ports if you want to, but this is a listener now on the Amazia side. So on this Amazia machine, we have just opened up a listener on port 8873, and what it's going to do is every incoming connection on this port on localhost will get teleported over to Mantle and make a connection on localhost 8873. Okay, and that's good because we want to run. So let's get rid of our tempter here. We're gonna, in this tempter, what we're going to do is we're going to do what rsync calls a pull. So Amazia is pulling a bunch of stuff from Mantle, and I have a command line ready to go here. So what we're going to do is say rsync -- recursive means grab obviously everything recursively verbose. The URL here is rsync localhost 8873, and then this sync with me is the same as this module over here. And we're saying grab everything from there and put it in dot, which is this inside this tempter that I've just created. So we should be grabbing everything from here on mantle and teleporting it over to Amasia. Since we just created this directory and CD'd into it, there's nothing here. So I'm just going to run this, and we get a bunch of stuff. So we transferred, I don't know, about 94 megabytes. Rsync daemon didn't produce any output. That's okay. In fowl, we got some output. It's telling me that there was one subchannel, and so far it transferred 93.8 megabytes, so it's about the same, depending on whether you divide by 1,000 or 124. And that stream is closed. On the Amasia side, we have all of our stuff, including that rsync file, and its output from fowl also has approximately the same thing. So both peers can see what happened. And with that same setup, we could run rsync again here if we wanted to see if there's anything new this time on that. So that was stream 2 here. It remembers stream 1. On stream 2, we only transferred 1.7 megabytes, and that's sort of the magic of the rsync protocol there. It determined that it didn't have to do anything really. It used, I guess, 1.7 megabytes to determine that all those files were the same. So we've successfully used rsync with only localhost connections and only localhost listeners, but over the internet, so wherever Magic Wormhole works, which is essentially any two computers that have any kind of upstream internet connection. Okay, thank you.